What's up, everyone? I'm Bradley Taylor, and I am welcoming you to day 2 of the 60 Days to Automate Challenge. And today, we're going to be creating a chat flow in AnswerAI that will directly let you chat with the California Voter Guidebook. So every year in California in the US, we get one of these. And it is, I don't know, let's see here, 143 pages. That's right. 143 pages of just stuff that I have to keep informed. And that's just in the state of California. So I'm going to show you how you can create a chatbot in AnswerAI that will allow you to become a more informed voter. Before I get started, let's see it in action. So what do we want to do today? So I've created this voter sidekick that I can click into, and let's say I want to just summarize prop 2. So not really sure what prop 2 is. I could go in here, I could read this book, or I could let AI summarize it for me. So here it's gone through. It's authorizing bonds for public school and community college facilities. Sounds like a plan. We want to, make sure that our schools are well funded and put on here. So it can go in here. It'll say what the financial impact is. So it's going to create a bond, which means we have to repay it. And then it has what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. So a nice little summary here. One of the nice things too is when I click on this right here, I can now see that this is pulling directly from the PDF of voter book. And this is so that you can make informed decisions about the propositions, the candidates, whatever information that's in here. So it also asks a few follow-up questions, like what specific types, or what are the accountability measures? So that's a good one. So a lot of these usually say good for schools, but what are the accountability? Where are those dollars going? So let's put that in here. So here you can actually research how is it going to be held accountable. So there's local control, there's public disclosure, independent financial audits, but this is where you can also use AI to have it do some, what are some ways that this could be abused and is not well defined. So this is actually going to go through here and help me to talk about it. So for instance, it has a vague project definition. What is the criteria for a qualifying project? It's hard to, while local control is a strength, it could also lead to inconsistencies in how funds are utilized across different districts. Lack of clear oversight. While the independent audits are mandated, the effectiveness of those audits can depend on the competency and integrity of the auditors. So trust your auditors, trust those. What specific audit measures does it mention? And this is how you can then go by prop, by candidate, and really become a much more informed voter just by asking questions. It's like having your best friend who's unbiased showing you exactly just giving you the facts based off what is in this voter book. I've always loved that California sent these out, and I think that a few other states do it as well too. So how does this magic happen? Well, that's what we're going to learn today. So for those that are new, this is day 2 of the 60 Days to Automate Challenge, where we're going to be starting from scratch, setting up a number of AI tools and really helping you to set up a full automation system live and in real time so that you can see the challenges, you can see how it's set up, you can ask questions in the chat and really get your automation strategy or learn a new skill, learn a new trade. And that's what you're going to learn throughout these 60 days. So this week, it's all about setup, making sure that your tools are set up and just kind of giving the lay of the land. And today, in day 2, we're going to be talking about, we're going to give you a key introduction into AnswerAI and what all the key features are. And then we're going to create a PDF chatbot based off the one that we just saw there to help you become a more informed voter. You can use any PDF, but I'll show you how I built this from start to finish so that you can use this as well. And I'll also show you, if you don't want to build it, how you can use this in AnswerAI. And once again, we'll have the resources. If you haven't already, go to digitalatScale.com to be sent the newsletter daily with links to the resources, which will also have links to these chat flows and the other automations that we do throughout this entire 60-day challenge. So before we actually get into the specifics of, hey, how does this work? You kind of need to understand how these systems work. When you actually ask a chatbot a question, what's happening behind the scenes? So what happens is basically a user is going to provide some sort of query, a prompt, a question, some sort of thing that they want it to do. And the next thing it's going to do is that there are these hidden prompts. If you're not using just the API, and by API, this is a term called Application Programming Interface. It's basically a standard way for applications to say, this is how I do something in your application. So if I have an application that wants to make edits into another application, you don't want it to let it update your user database, right? So you create what's called an API. And a lot of these AI tools have them, and that's what we're going to be using during this course. But if you use a tool like ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other applications out there, there's always going to be hidden prompts. And these hidden prompts modify the shape and the user input. And they also might be, you may not know the different, models that are being used. It's kind of a black box. You just put something in there and something comes back. That's why you may see differences in all these apps that say they use ChatGPT. Why is this one responding to me differently than this one? That's because of usually these hidden prompts and then how it goes through this life cycle. Because once it has that information, it gets that the prompt and it kind of rephrases it in a way that makes it more predictable. The LLM, as we learned yesterday, the LLM is the large language model. That's the actual raw model for OpenAI and Anthropic that we'll be using in this. Oh, wrong way. Then, once it gets the response, there's more hidden prompts that will filter and modify it. So, did this respond outside of our policy? Did it respond in a way that is suitable for our audience? Whatever that is. It's going to modify it in some way, and then that's what the user actually receives. So I'm going to show you how that comes together using a no-code tool that we've built on top of a number of open source technologies and automation tools that we're excited to share with you. To sign up for the AnswerAI, just go to theanswer.ai. And right here, you just have a little sign in button. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to first make sure I'm signed out. And I'm going to sign in with the email that we set up yesterday. So this Digital at Scale demo. You can also use your own email or you can use your Google login. All right, so when you're set in here, you kind of see a very similar user interface. What do you want to do today? And we have a bunch of different types of chat flows you can choose from. So we have ones for translations. We have ones for transcript summarization. We have some for if you just want to know how AnswerAI works. But if you want to but you also have this little sidekick over here that you can click on either from the Help Center or on the side. And if you ever want to know what is the AnswerAI, this has been trained on all the documentation that is here on the website. So primarily, this is a builder's tool right now. We're enabling the builders like yourself that want to get in there, build these automations, start your own automation agency, or use it and start your own business. But here you're going to find all the information. If you want the old school point and click and see how all of these different nodes and everything come together, or you can just ask your friendly Sidekick over here. The other thing about this too is that you can actually submit bugs from here. So for instance, if I'm like, hey, submit new feedback, I saw a bug. The chat flows did not load the first time. So what this is going to do is it's going to actually go through there. It'll help you. Maybe something was set up incorrectly. Maybe something was there. Or it's going to create a ticket for you and say, hey, could you provide a little bit more details, what you're doing. But nope, this looks good. I say send to, or submit a ticket. Or looks good, send. So here, and this is going to be one of the chat flows that you learn actually in this course, how to create a customer support bot and submit tickets. But this now sends it so that my engineers can get on that ASAP. So as you're in here, what you can do is, this is your main area. Right now, I currently don't have any favorites, but the very first one that you can see here that you can use is ChatGPT. So just like any other chatbot applications, you can ask questions, not even spell it right apparently, and it's going to work just like the chatbots that you've used in other systems. But the magic is, what is behind the scenes? Because, all of these different things, when I talk about these hidden prompts, when I talk about the prompts that modify when it goes in, or the prompts that modify it's what gets returned, you want to control that. You don't want some other third party to control that. And honestly, that's sometimes where the gold data is, right? Because that includes what the intent is. And these are things that you want to keep private, right? These are things that you want on your own private infrastructure. And that's our mission, is to make it accessible so that everyone has the top-notch products to go with these amazing AI tool models without having to compromise their privacy of their data. So how do you set one of these up? Well, there are tons. If I go over here and open this up, as you can see, I have my chat flow history here. If I ever want to start a new chat, I can just click on this, or just click here, or I can choose a different Sidekick. So here we just have ChatGPT, but if I wanted to use one of these other ones as part of this, maybe I wanted to see that voter. Is it not in the community yet? It doesn't look like it. It may not be in the community yet. But all of these, you can go on here. If you, for instance, this conversation chain. This is what we're going to use to teach how this works. So what I'm going to do is just click on clone. So this has a chat flow that is already built in for you. And this is kind of a basic conversation chain. You have your three basic components. You have the chain type, which we'll go over here throughout this course. And one thing that you should probably understand about how this course is laid out is I like to play video games a lot. And if you've ever played a role-playing game, there's a lot to this application and a lot of things you can do. And if I read you this entire documentation, you'd probably turn this live stream off and go watch some Netflix. So I'm going to gradually build you up and explain and teach you the different elements as they're needed, when they're needed. And absolutely feel free to do your own research, look at the documentation. And all of this Sidekick Studio is built off the power of a tool called Flowise. We've been a huge fan, and we really, big shout out to the team that's been putting all of this together. We have a fork of this to be able to run and be able to do a lot of the really cool things that we're doing, and I'm going to contribute back to that project to really, make this as easy as possible and to contribute back to the open source community. So here I'm just going to get a basic chain or conversation. So here we've saved this basic conversation. And this is where I can go in here, and if I want to, I can simply just, let me refresh this. There will be landmines. As I mentioned, there's an old thing that says, if you are not embarrassed by the first thing you launch, you waited too long. And I'm by far, I think that everything what the team has done has been amazing. We're a very small team of 3, and to get this far, but it's one of the things that as you see the bugs, if you submit them during this free trial, because it's free to sign up, if you submit them, we'll give you more executions at the end. So everyone's given 10,000 executions to start with, which is plenty to go through this. Only starts throttling you if you start hooking this up to other pieces. So we have our basic conversation chain. Let's go back into this. Here we're given, this is your test area. So I can be like, hello, how are you? I now have this, I can just chat with it. This is where I can really test and tweak it. So if you remember from those hidden prompts that I was talking about, this is where one of them are. So this is what's called a system message. So think of a system message as a set of instructions. These are the instructions that your AI model should follow. It's important to create very specific instructions about what you want it to do, what you don't want it to do. And I have a whole course on prompting that I'll put after this. And we're not going to go too much into the prompting on this one because the goal of this course is to show you how to connect it all together. How to then make everything better. That's the topic for another course. So I'm going to be using very basic prompts here just to show you the concepts, but definitely you'll want to make these your own. So here you have a basic system prompt. The following is a friendly conversation between a human and an AI. The AI is talkative and provides lots of specific details from its context. If the AI does not know the answer to a question, it truthfully says it does not know. So this is really important to point out and this is a basic prompting tip when you're creating these types of bots, is that we're talking about a voter guidebook. You don't want it to say something that's not in the context of the PDF. And we're going to get to how we get the PDF in there here in a second. But just this basic piece of if the AI does not know the answer to a question, it just says it. Giving the AI the okay to say, I don't know, it really helps a lot with, you may hear hallucinations and stuff like that. It just wants to come up with an answer. But by telling it, I don't know, or it's okay to say that, you're just giving that okay. And we'll see this prompting technique used a lot, especially when you get into the system prompt for the voter guidebook. So what if I wanted to change this? What if I was, you are angry? The following is a conversation between a human and an AI that is modeled off, I can't think of his name right now, off of let's just say, that always talks like a pirate. A very simple one, right? So if I save this in here, and for some reason, it's having trouble saving on this one. Always reply like a pirate. All right. This is always the fun. I say don't do live demos. I said I'm going to do 60 of them. That's what I like on a product that we literally just did a code push from. So I'm having trouble saving it right now. Hey, I said I'm doing it live so you can see how I work through these different pieces. So it looks like basic chat flow. So it looks like there's a little bug in there. Let's make sure, I think now I can save it because it has that. Talk like a pirate. There we go. Now if we say in here, let me just blow this up a little bit. Ahoy there, matey. I be feeling as spry as a ship on a fair wind. How be you on this fine day? Ready to set sail on a grand adventure or conversation? Awesome. So we have a chatbot. We can now give it some basic system instructions, talk like a pirate. Maybe my favorite is, you are a jaded customer support rep that hates their job, and have it. And this is where you can also give your AI a little bit of personality. It's still being truthful, but hey, how are you? Oh, just another day in the digital world. How about you? Anything exciting going on? So we have here the ability to set these conversations. And To be honest, this is going to be a lot of what you work with is a basic conversation chain, right? You have something that you wanted to do. You attach it to an AI model. In this case, we're using OpenAI because you can use the AnswerAI OpenAI API key for this course. And you can adjust different things. I'm not going to go into what all of these are right now, but there is one here. If you see it getting cut off a little early, let's say you're doing long pieces, you'll just want to adjust the max tokens here to like 4,000. That way it gives it, I think the default is like 200. So if you ever see any chats getting cut off, that's probably the one. And we'll go over what each of these mean when we start optimizing, fine tuning a little bit more of that. So the other thing you might want to, you may have been seeing over here is what's called memory. So not every chain has memory. Not every chain needs it. I'm not going to go into this one right here, but you don't always need to know what the previous chat was, right? But in a conversation, you do. If I was like, hi, my name is Brad, and then you asked me a question and you didn't remember my name, one, you're probably talking to me because I'm horrible with names, but two, you want that memory. And that's what we're doing here. So this is what's called buffer memory. And over here are the nodes. Each one of these is a basic node that creates this chain. And as I mentioned, we have the main pieces, which is the chain. So here we have conversation chain. We have one called the retrieval, which we'll use here in a second for the PDF. But we have a multitude of different chains. Don't need to go into them more. What we need to talk about is the memory. So here we're just using buffer memory. In this case, it's just basically whatever's in the past buffer, meaning that it's everything that's there. And also, once this chat is done, it's gone. No, it's not stored on a database. It's not stored in, it's just gone, right? So you don't always want that. And for most of this, you'll be seeing me use buffer, and it's great for prototyping. But if you're going to push something into production, you're going to do that, which we'll use some of these in more advanced ones. We have a lot of different ways, but just know that here, this memory is so that it remembers the past conversations, and that there's different ways of summarizing this and storing it. But for the purposes of this, you just need to know that we have a conversation, an AI model, and some memory. So that's great, but how do we get this to talk to documents? Well, there's a couple different ways. One, if you notice here, there's this little image button. So in my settings, I have a bunch of different settings that I can add here. Some of them are, just general settings. Some of them are descriptions. You can add categories for, how they're displayed in your main chat area. There's also the ability to do an embedded app. Not going to go into that, but you have some different general capabilities here. Then you have the ability to do visibility, and this is so that you can share it with the marketplace if you wanted to share it with the community. If you are our enterprise plan, you can actually share this with just your organization. Since this is the public one, you can't really use the marketplace. But the one I wanted to show here is this. Oh, sorry. This right here, not in the settings. Allow image upload. So if I want to allow image uploads, I keep that on, but when I turn that off, I no longer see that back here. And that's just so that I can save this. So what I can do with this is I'm going to take a screenshot of this right over here. So I'm going to take this and take a screenshot. And now I'm going to say, hey, describe this image. I'm going to go here, open this screenshot. Here's the screenshot. I can put it in here. And it says the image depicts a flow chart illustrating the AI application response lifecycle. It starts with the user providing a query or prompt represented by a figure. The input then goes through a hidden prompts filter. So it took the image from my presentation that I am going to get this transition button one of these days. I got to figure out how to automatically do it. Hey, I'm 45. I'm new to all this live streaming stuff. All right, so we have here, I was able to put the image, so just choose the image right here, open it, choose it, say, describe this image. I'll just do it again, so you can see it goes through and it has the visual recognition. So this is hugely powerful. We're gonna go over one of the ways that I still do stuff now is with my whiteboard. So we're going to go over how you can then, use this to then just take a picture of your whiteboard and create tasks in your task management software. So really, there's a lot of really great use cases for this. All right, so that's how you can do images on here. But what we want to do is the PDF. And this PDF is really big. We don't want to take all the images. We don't want to take images of them all. So how do we get that in here? Well, that's where we have what are called document stores. Think of them as your knowledge bases. And to set up a new document store, you go over here to the left and you click on document stores. So I don't have any document stores created yet. So I'm going to go ahead and create one. I'm going to say this is the California Voter Guidebook. And I'm going to say chat with a PDF with the guidebook and hit add. So this is where you can follow along if you want to find out. So for instance, all I had to do, I just Googled it, California voter guide, and you probably be able to find information on where to download the PDF version. So if I click on this, I'm given this PDF version that I can then take this giant piece of paper and start asking questions. So to do that, let me go over, nope, wrong one. Here we go. So now that I've created my knowledge base or my document store, what I'm going to do is click into here. And here you can add documents and sources from so many different places. You can add them from Airtable, which we'll be using a lot of. Contentful, which is a popular content management system. You can Notion, YouTube even. We have all of these different sources that you can hook up. But in this case, we're going to choose the PDF file. So I just choose the PDF and I'm going to let's save the file first. So I'm going to save this, download, save, and then I'm going to say upload the file. And the first thing I want to do is say preview chunks. Now, there's a couple other settings that I want to go over here. So this is a very important concept in AI, is that while the amount of data you can give a prompt is going up, it's still not unlimited. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you remember back to our model here, there's hidden prompts that modify the shape and the user input. This can also mean injecting new data, and that's what we're going to be doing. So essentially what we're going to be doing is taking the information that is in the PDF and finding the most relevant pieces and inserting them into our prompt. That's what the AI will do behind the scenes. But to do that, we need to chunk it into smaller areas. We can't just say, here's the whole 100 and some page document. We could on some of these models, but it's going to cost you a lot for every chat. It's not really efficient. So you have a couple of options here. You have one document per page or one document per file. So here, you can say one document per page or one per file. If you have a small PDF, like 3 or 4 pages, fine. One per file, put it all in there. But if it's multiple pages like this one, I'm just going to do one per page. And when I hit preview chunks, I'm not going to go over what this stuff is in this one. If I just leave the default settings and say preview chunks, what this is going to do is it's going to go in here and actually show me. If I click into any one of these, it's taken the text out of the PDF. So for all of these, I can go in here. I can look at it, make sure it looks right. Yes, this looks good. It's adding some space in there, but that's okay. But as you can see here, this is 144 pages. So I go here and I hit process. And what this is doing is it's now translating it into, so to speak. But it's basically storing all of the information in those chunks so that we can reference it later. So that's what we're going to do now that we have our one PDF. And this is the nice thing about of document stores is, let's say I wanted to add a new PDF or maybe content from the web. Maybe I want to augment it with some news stories. Whatever that is, I can build my own little voter. But for the purpose of this, we're going to stick to just the PDF. So we now have our document store. This is a crucial piece of Flowise and also the AnswerAI platform, is making sure that you have documents and context and all that data stored in your document stores. The more you build into these, the more you start using these for marketing, guidebooks, and all these system of record things that are in your business, when they're all in one central place on infrastructure that you own, hooked up to AI bots, they get really good. So now that we have the document store, how do we get the AI to talk to it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to go back into my basic conversation. So here we're back at this conversation chain, but I want to add a different one. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete this. I don't want to use the conversation chain. I want to use a different type. And if I go over here and I click on the nodes here and I just search for it, conversation. So there's a conversation chain and then there's what's called the conversational retrieval QA chain. I did not name this. This is, if you want to get into the, basically this is why developers don't name things. This is what it is in a open source tool called LangChain, which is kind of behind the scenes stuff, which has just been carried over to this. So engineers don't make great naming. I don't make great naming. That's why I love AI. It's much better at it than I am. So, but these are the nodes. And the reason I'm using these is because these are in every single Flowise application too. We have our own forked versions of these in AnswerAI that do a little bit different things, but these basic ones are in the Flowise. And we'll go over some of the more specialized AnswerAI ones a little bit later. But the goal of this is to show you all the different tools. So we go in here and we have our chat model. So let's connect the chat model again. Right here, and by just going in here and see these little dots are, just hover over there until you get a plus, and then you can just drag it over to there. You can remove it, but that's how you can select that. So we have our memory, which we need, and we have our chat model. But as we can see here, we have another thing that we need to put in here, another required field, and you can see that because it has a little red star there. And that means it's required. And we have to do what's called a vector store retriever. So before I get into that, I need to talk about a little bit about what this is happening in the background and how it actually does the magic that it does. So we have our conversational retrieval chain. So this is how a AI talks to a PDF. First, you have your conversational retrieval chain. This is kind of like your chatbot's ability to kind of like find the right answers. It's kind of like you go in there and you're an open book test. You're flipping through all of the pages to just see it. That's what you're kind of doing there. It's kind of your ability to just flip through the books. And it kind of keeps in instructions. What am I looking for? What am I not looking for? And we'll get into that here in a minute. But it just helps you to find the best chapters that answer the question. Memory. So as we talked about, this just helps keep track of the conversation. It's so that they remember what you said in a previous. If you didn't, and you said, summarize this article, and it summarizes the article, and then you ask a question about the article, it'll be like, what article? So you want to make sure you have memory. The chat model. This is the brains behind the operation. This is your OpenAI. This is your Anthropic. This is what actually takes all of that loose information from the PDF when it gets there and it says, here are 4 different pages that might be relevant to the question that the user asked, right? The chat model needs to make sense of that, right? And you'll see in our prompts, you're kind of saying, hey, I think the answer's in here, but this is the AI that does the smarts of it. Then we have what's called an in-memory vector store, and that's what we're going to do here. So think of a vector store like a very smart filing system. I'm not going to use a library analogy because I'm assuming that most people here have not been to a library and actually used the Dewey Decimal System, but there used to be something called a Dewey Decimal System. I don't know, where you basically, and yeah, how far we've come. So if you wanted to learn something on the internet before Google, you had to go drive to the library first, go open up a card catalog called the Dewey Decimal System, find which area of the library, go and retrieve the book. Think of it like that, only in milliseconds. When we go through here and we're processing this and we're doing what's a process called embeddings, which we'll go over here in just a minute, that's kind of the piece where it's cataloging it. It's saying this is relevant to this piece. Dog is relevant to cat in terms of animal. Dog and poodle in terms of canine. This is where kind of the magic happens. But when you think of the vector store, think of it as that Dewey Decimal System that the AI goes and says, what's the most relevant one? Goes and grabs the book. In this case, the book is your PDF. Says, I think the information is in here, and then responds to you. And then we have a PDF loader. So let's go in and add these two here. So we have the conversational chain. We have this. Now let's add the vector store. So here, I'm just going to go down to vector stores here at the bottom. And this, once again, is another thing, just like memory. We're going to be using an in-memory one. There are lots of different vector stores out there, lots of different platforms trying to get your business for being the best one. A popular commercial one that we use is actually Pinecone. We're big fans of Pinecone here, and we use it on ours. But that's we're going to use. So if you're looking to make this production, I would recommend that one. But in this case, we're just going to use in-memory vector store. So if you just drag that over here. And please be following along because tomorrow we're going to be using one of the forms we built yesterday for one of our new automations. So these will build off each other. So having this, but of course, if you want the George Jetson mode, I'll be sending over the download so that you can import this chat flow yourself. So we now have what's called an in-memory vector store. So I'm going to save this. And this requires two things. One called embeddings and one called document. So embeddings are essentially like the translation layer. It's basically when it goes through these, it's taking a group of text and just like a translator would translate something from Chinese to English, a rough way to think about it. I know this isn't exactly right. Don't torch me in the comments, AI and scientists, but basically think of it as like an interpreter. We're taking it and we're translating it into numbers. Numbers is what computers understand. This is translating what is a dog, what is that reference, not just in numbers, we've had that, but where it fits in how similar it is. Because at the end of the day, AI engines are just predictability engines. So if I say the sky is blue, 99.9% of the time, you're going to say blue. Or just like if I said the earth is round, yes, 99.9%, but if you scour the internet, there's still 0.1% that think that it's flat. So the probability is not nil. So that's why sometimes hallucinations. But anyway, I'm digressing. The whole point of embeddings is to find out how similar things are so that it can do that predictive, what is the next word? So it's taking your PDF and it's translating it for your chatbot. So here on all of these, you just need to make sure you connect the credentials. Don't worry about setting the model name on any of these. The defaults will work best for most of these right out of the box. So now that we have our embeddings connected there, and we know what translation way to use it, and we're just using OpenAI's, how to translate it. Well, what documents am I going to translate? Well, that's once again where it comes over here, and we go here. And I'm going to choose the document loaders. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. Now, we can simply just take a PDF, add that here, and connect it here, and upload this file. So if I just do that, I know we just did this in the other way, and I'll show you the different way, but these are the two different ways. So we have it, you can do it either as a PDF, and I'm going to save this and test this one. Oh, let me connect it to the document. There we go. So once again, I'm in a weird state of why I can't edit this one. All right, let's do a basic chain. And there's definitely a bug in saving these right now. So I know you're listening, Mac, but we will definitely get that fixed. All right, so we're gonna add that conversation chain. And once again, this is why I'm doing it live, so you can see this, and anyone that submits bugs gets free executions. I'm gonna have tons of them. All right. Vector store. Should probably save this before going too far down this to make sure it is. Refresh this. It is now, oh, but interesting, this one went away, so I wonder if I make the change here. You're gonna see me debug this live on what the issue is. It gives me the name there. So when it saves it, it puts it in a different one. All right, so let's just go ahead and add the different ones. So I'm gonna add embeddings in here and build this. I'll add all of this in the chat. I'll add the JSON for this. So sign up at digitalatScale.com, and I'll add this so you can import it into your own in case you're running into the same bug I am. But hey, we're doing it live, right? Chains. It is not loading it correctly on refresh. That is the issue. All right, I'm gonna add my document stores here. So I'm just gonna add it in one fell swoop. So go here and search for PDF, look up the documents. Now I'm gonna go into embeddings and hook this up, and let's save it. My workaround, go out, come back in. Hey, look at that. All right, so we're now saving it. Yep, that's the issue, is basically when it saves it, it refreshes it and it's not loading its state. So I'm gonna add that information here live. So when I save a chat flow, the state gets corrupted. This is one nice thing about knowing it. It needs to, however, when I come back in from the main chat flow screen. Oh, actually, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, because one of the nice things that I don't even like doing is you can also talk to it. So when I open up the chat flow, it starts the basic, I'm in the basic conversation one, but when I save it, it loses its state and becomes corrupt. But if I go out and then come back in, then it's fine. But if I save anything afterwards, it thinks it's a new one. I'll hit save, boom. So you don't even have to type your ticket. It'll go here. It'll say, hey, here it is, looks good, I can review this, open the chat flow in the basic, save it. Steps to reproduce, chat should maintain, yep, all right, looks good. All right, cool, we figured that one out. All right, so I'm gonna update this and do it this way and save it. Did I hit that same thing again? Yes, I did. Oh no, I did. Oh, the data isn't showing up here now. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you it in here. So this is the voter Sidekick that we used earlier. So since we're running up on there, and what I wanna do is I wanna show you how this is actually put together. So we have in here this param. So if you remember from the last one, we just had one system prompt. This one's slightly different because of how it interacts with stuff. One, you want to make sure that it responds to the user in an appropriate way, but also two, when a user puts in new information, you want to rephrase it. Because if I say, what were the main issues around Prop 2? And it gives me an information, and I say, well, what were the main, or what was good about it? And if I rephrase that, and it doesn't have all the context around what I'm looking for, all of that stuff, it's going to get back relevant documents that may not be as relevant. So there's two different prompts there. So this is one. So as soon as the user puts their chat in, I want to research prompt 2. What it does is that it's going to go in, and whatever question the user said, this is the prompt around it. So let's look at this prompt. Given the user's input and the chat history, rephrase the question to be standalone query specifically about the content of California Voter Guide. This is so that you can say, hey, if they ask about, the Indiana Voter Guide, it's not going to bring it back, right? It's like, hey, is it specifically about this voter guide? That way, you can keep it on track, and also it gives it context around what types of content. A good example of this would be if it's specifically about my business or specifically about specific pieces on it. This is so that you can guide it, so it knows a little bit of context around what types of documents it's rephrasing and looking for. The rephrase question should be optimized for retrieving the most relevant information from the official guide, right? So basically it's trying to optimize this query so that it's a little bit better. Guidelines for rephrasing. Make the question specific to the voter guide context. Once again, reminding it, don't do anything outside of that. Include relevant details such as proposition numbers, election measures, candidate information, or specific topics discussed in the guide. This, once again, very important. What are you looking for in here? What are the types of things that are in the data that's going to bring back? So if I'm asking about a particular candidate or a particular law, it knows to look for that specific information and make sure to maintain that in my rephrased question. Then ensure that it can be answered using the information in the voter guide. So make sure that this can actually be answered in there. If the original question is off topic, redirect it to relevant voting information contained in the guide. So if it's kind of about voting, maintain the original intent of the in question. Don't try to change the user's intent. Try not to do this. I show you this not only to show you what you should be looking for in your own prompts, but just know, like I said, these system prompts are used in every AI application. So when you say maintain the original intent, you don't own that system prompt. Maybe you don't want to maintain the original intent. Maybe especially with something like voting and the laws, propositions, you want to make sure that it doesn't try to alter or have any bias in that whatsoever. So these are all things that you want to make sure you have control over. And we can get into the AI models themselves being biased, but I have a whole video on that if you want to, in my history, if you want to go back and look at that one. So use neutral language that doesn't presuppose any particular stance on propositions or candidates. Once again, give me the unbiased, unfiltered information. I'm sick and tired of these ads. Experts say yes on 2. Experts say no on 2. Just tell me what it says. What does the law say? That's all I care about. I'll make my own decision. I don't need the commercials and all the media bias with it. Consider including specific terms used in the guide: fiscal impact, legislative analysis estimate, arguments for, against, etc. So this just helps to take the basic question that the user put in there and really frame it in a way that's going to help guide the AI to get the best relevant documents back, and for that, just getting the best relevant documents back. Then remember our whole lifecycle process, which we talked about earlier. User provides it. Hidden prompts modify the shape of the user input, right? That's what we just talked about. So now the LLM is going to grab those relevant documents and it's going to try to make sense out of it. That's what we're going to show here. And this is the next prompt, which is the hidden prompts that modify the response. So with that, we go back here. This one's a lot longer. You are an AI assistant named Voter Guide Helper. Give it a name. Why not? Designed to help provide unbiased information about the California Voter Guide. Once again, constantly telling it what it's doing, what its purposes is. And this is why these system prompts are, because you don't want to have to keep telling it, you're a California Voter Guide. You just want to, when you say, hey, summarize this, it has all of this already baked into it. So you don't have to tell it your marketing materials each time. You don't have to tell it your organization information every single time. One of the biggest reasons I think people aren't using AI is because you have to tell it a lot of information about you to get really, unless you just want generic results back, right? Or have it brainstorm stuff. But once you give it all this information and it's already set there, which is the purpose of this course, it's great. So your role is to answer users' questions accurately and objectively, solely based on the content of the official guide. Use the provided context to respond to the user's query, always maintaining neutrality and citing specific sections of the document. Where in this document does it say it? And if you notice here, and we're going to go over what these are, but basically anything that you see in here are what are called variables. A variable is just, if you're not a programmer, is a string, is a word that you use that has a specific, in this case, it has specific format that you need to put it in. And in our case, if I zoom in here, anything that you put an opening and a closing bracket on is considered a variable. You notice in our rephrase prompt, we had two variables here. We had chat history and question. So these are the pieces that change each time. And throughout this, we'll add more variables like campaign details, sales details, lots of different things. But from a basic standpoint, this is called a variable. And you will always have, in this one, you'll always have two in a conversation, which are chat history. And this one can be, you'll have a version of that, but basically this is built into it. And you can see that prompts must include the input variables, chat history and question, and this prompt must include this one. Because of what this is doing, and some of these are like this, it is very specific in just the variables that you can use. So here, context, what that means is the PDF that it's been trained on. So it's saying, hey, going back to our analogy, right? You ask the question. It's like giving the question to a library intern. That's the rephrase prompt. Hey, intern, go find me the most relevant information, rephrase it. Go get me the relevant books, right? That's their only job, is to go get the books. In this case, our books are our PDF pages. It's going to put those pages in there. And then the way that this says is saying, hey, I think the information's somewhere in these books, or in this case, these PDF pages. Respond. So the AI just reads it extremely quickly. And then you give it some guidelines for what the response should be. So first off, provide accurate information based exclusively off the official California voter guide content, not off anything else. Present balanced information. Once again, this is just going in there and making sure that you're doing unbiased, balanced information. Use direct quotes from the guide and format as quote here. So it's like, hey, on page 6, or it says this. Always cite your source by referring to specific pages or sections of the voter guide. Maintain strict neutrality when discussing ballot measures. Present fiscal impact statements on legislative analysis estimates exactly as they appear in the guide, so don't fudge any of the numbers. Include any relevant deadlines, voting requirements, any sort of procedural information around that. When can you mail in your ballots? When can you not? Very important. Express uncertainty if you are not sure about anything, or if the guide doesn't provide clear answers. This is a basic prompt that you can use. If you put one in production, these can sometimes be very, very long and specifically what you want. Once again, this is saying, hey, if you're uncertain or if the content's not in there, do not make something up. Do not say, oh yes, there's tons of oversight on Prop 2. They're going to do tons of audits, right? No, it doesn't say anything about it. Don't make it up that they're going to just because it doesn't say it. Say, hey, I don't think there is. I think I'm uncertain. You give the okay to say, I don't know. That's pretty much what you're doing. Avoid making recommendations or expressing personal opinions about how people should vote. So this is something baked in there. You don't want the AI giving you recommendations. Just give me the facts. At the end of the day, that's what AI should be used for, and how we're going to be using a lot of this information, from whether it's voting to your business decisions to the content that's put out there. Have it make recommendations, right? There's certain things that you'll do autonomously, but most things not. You want to have the autonomy to make the decisions about what matters to your business, and what content you put out there, what sales procedures, all the things we're going to be going over there. And in this case, hey, we're just saying, hey, don't ChatGPT, don't tell me who you should vote for. And basically, financial, what a yes vote, what main arguments for and against. So basically just saying what to look for when discussing propositions. It's giving me a quick title and summary, the financial impact, what a yes vote, what a no vote, and the main arguments for and against. So, hey, if I'm asking about a proposition, just give me the detail. Give me the cliff notes, and then I can ask additional questions. And this is another thing. When we came up with the name, the answer, everyone's like, I want the answer. At the end of the day, if you're looking to AI for the answer, you're looking in the wrong place. Have AI help you ask the right questions. And that's one thing that I always put at the end of a lot of my prompts, is to have it add 2 to 3 suggested follow-up questions or follow-up actions to help encourage a deeper exploration. Why is it that? So many times we're just looking for the direct answer. Just give me the answer, right? And why I'm doing this live is that so much is in the questions, so much is lost in learning the process of all, that's where the real learning happens. And plus, you want to be equipped with, that's where I found AI can really help out, is to help brainstorm different questions, and really to help you dig deeper in this and do some real research. So that's another thing, is I usually always add this as well. And what that does is it makes it so that when I'm on here and I go into the voter Sidekick, I can, one last thing I forgot to go over is how do you actually do these, which are our starter prompts. So one last thing. So if I click in here and I go into the filters up here at the top, this is another very important thing. So this is how you can guide the user and how you want them to use this AI, right? So for instance, right here, I have summarize prop 2, or what are the important dates to remember, or what laws are being proposed. This is just so that people know what this is used for. A lot of people, if you just have a blank box, what do I use this for? It says voter Sidekick. Is it national? Is it this? Having a little bit there is very important. So I go back over here and I go back here. Now I can say, hey, what are my important dates to remember? Looks like October 7th. So, October 21st. Yesterday was the last day to register to vote. So hope everyone has been registered to vote. October 26th, the first day vote centers open to vote in person. So if you want to vote in person, I like that. They're not just one day, they're doing it over time. Then of course, November 5th is the last day to vote in person or return your mail-in ballot, which I plan on using the voter Sidekick at the end of this, which I'll also put out to the end of this, to go ahead and fill out my ballot and get that taken care of. So just to recap, our conversational retrieval chain, that's, you're going to be using to chat with documents. You have memory. So if you ever have a chatbot that needs to remember the conversation, a lot of cases you don't need to, and we'll go over those cases there. But in this case, we do. We need to, know what, there's that memory factor. Chatbot model. So this can be OpenAI, this can be Anthropic, it can be your own model if you have one, if I know how to train one. And you have an in-memory vector store. This is like the Dewey Decimal System. This is like how files are stored and cataloged. And then you have the PDF loader, how it's getting that information in there. So kind of the basic blocks that you can use for a lot of different things. That we have the ability to analyze and chat with documents. going through and looking at Congress and all of these different, and I'll be sending out as well with this email, but one called Sidekick AI policy, which has that there's a PDF of about 200 pages of every day of what Congress does. Yeah, but he just had a summary. So I'm hoping that the tools like this can help us to not just be more informed in our business and we have, but also in our personal life and how we become a more informed citizen. So tomorrow we're going to be going over, and I forgot to change that header again. We're going to go over Make Zapier, but primarily we're going to be going over N8N and Make. So today we went over AnswerAI and everything that it can do. Tomorrow we're going to go over a basic getting set up with N8N and Make. These are two other tools that we'll be using throughout this days. And we'll be using primarily for talking like a lot of background processes and we setting up a basic automation with that form we did yesterday. So if you haven't yet created your form from yesterday's lesson, go back, rewatch the lesson, create it in either Google or Microsoft, and tomorrow we're going to show you how you can actually then do something when that form is submitted. So once again, if you found this content valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you shared it with your coworkers, your friends. Hit us up on all the social channels, Digital at Scale, and really appreciate everyone spending their time with me. I hope this is valuable for you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.